We are live. I haven't done one of these things in quite some time, but this is what's it called? My reaction for UFC 287. Man, guys, what's it called? We had Adesanya versus um, what's it called? Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira ended up coming into Miami with the belt. A lot of traction was coming into saying that will Adesanya be able to, get that monkey off his back? Because he ended up losing on three separate occasions to Alex Pereira. Now, Alex Pereira, what's it called, ended up defeating Israel Adesanya twice in kickboxing and also one other time in the Madison Square Garden card in the UFC. All right, and the UFC fast tracked Alex Pereira. They knew exactly what they wanted to get done, and they figured, you know what, you know, let him fight. I think it was Michaelitis in his first fight. Then he fought Bruno Silva to a decision. Then he ended up fighting Sean Strickland in International Fight Week, and then that led him to Israel Adesanya, and they fast tracked him. All right, Israel Adesanya cleaned the division out. All right, Whitaker twice, Cannonier. He fought Brunson in the past, fought Vittori twice. Um, Paulo Costa. He's fought pretty much everybody, right? Outside of, I don't know, maybe Dricus Duplessis and stuff like that. And he's just up and coming right now. And it only made sense to him fight Alex Pereira, and there's obviously a storyline behind it, all right? And obviously, we knew what happened. Fifth round, Israel was winning 3-1. Went into the fifth round. Alex ends up coming in, guns blazing, unloads the clip, and ends up winning the fight by TKO. Now, what's it called? We fast forward up until April 8th of yesterday. Now, going into that fight, I'm thinking, all right, I just of the firm believer, all right, and this is just me, that there are some people that are just better than you, and there are some people that just clearly have your number, right? Now, do I believe that um, Alex Pereira is better than Israel Adesanya? I don't believe that he is better. But I just think that from a psychological standpoint, coming into the fight, I thought that Israel Adesanya um, just invoked so much of his energy towards Alex Pereira, and I just thought that I would be honest. I had a parlay. I had a parlay of Raul Rosas Jr. and Alex Pereira. I had Raul Rosas Jr. winning inside the distance, and I had Alex Pereira winning by knockout because that was the only way that I could see Alex Pereira winning this fight against Israel Adesanya. All right, and obviously both those outcomes did not end up panning out in my favor. All right. I do say that man, Israel Adesanya came with some intensity throughout the entirety of the week. With the entirety of the week, he came out with tons of intensity. All right. Came out with a dog collar for I believe it was media day. For it was also the press conference, for the weigh-in, and also for the walkout. Okay, he said that dog collar is supposed to represent that he's going to unleash his inner dog in him inside the fight, and what ends up happening, he ended up releasing his inner dog out. All right. Um, they had the game plan of being aggressive in the early part, and we saw in the previous fight between Izzy and Alex is that Izzy was able to hurt Alex initially in the ending part of round one. And what ended up happening, he was able to go with the attack. Alex is very good. He's very sneaky with those leg kicks. He doesn't give you like a good tell on when they're gonna come. It's just a very snappy type of a leg kick. And I will say, I don't care what Israel Adesanya was saying that those things didn't hurt. Those things did hurt because he could say possum all he wanted to, but it was starting to affect Israel Adesanya. And this is what I'm telling you, I personally did feel that Adesanya acted more aggressive because from what it seemed like, Alex Pereira's game plan was to attack the legs, to slow Izzy down so Alex can try to go for the kill in the championship rounds, which is in 4 and 5. All right. I feel that that was the game plan, and I think that Israel noticed that was the game plan, and he just accelerated, the aggressiveness, and he just started to pour more of a volume of shots towards Alex Pereira, which ended up leading to Alex Pereira biting on the possum fake that his leg was really hurting him, whether that was true or not, that his leg was really hurting him or not. To me, it feels like it was. And Israel Adesanya was able to find an opening. He zeroed in on that opening, and he was able to hurt Alex, and then go for I believe it was like two or three additional more shots, what ended up laying out Alex Pereira cold. And then afterwards, you saw Adesanya gesturing the bow and arrow. It was like bah bah bah. Um, I was all good with that. You finally were able to defeat the guy that you lost three times to. What I had the biggest issue with was, man, why are you bringing kids involved into this thing? All right, I know that you were pissed off that Alex Pereira's son ended up mocking you after you got knocked out in kickboxing. All right, but he's 12 years old. You're never gonna win that battle. I mean, you're just making yourself look, really foolish for pointing at the sun. Um, it's called laying down on the floor or dropping yourself onto the floor, saying goodnight. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, I was all good with the dancing and the shenanigans that he was doing afterwards. Keep that rivalry between you two. Do not bring it between kids. All right, that was just one thing that kind of irked me. I was like, come on, man. Like, you're giving people a reason not to like you and to try to deflect that whole situation about what's it called? You winning the belt or reclaiming the belt. I'm sorry, as opposed to what's it called? Now we have to have this discussion. It's like why everything has to be so damn personal with you, and what's it called? You making the comment in the press conference saying that what's it called? If they could crawl, we could sprawl or whatever you ended up saying in the press conference, saying that if they could crawl, they can get it too. Like, come on, Israel, like lighten up, man. You just won the belt. Don't make don't what's it called denigrate yourself to that level. All right. What's next for both these fighters? Well, Dana White did say that Alex Pereira should move up to um, what's it called 205. Do I agree with that? Possibly, because I was hearing the rumors that Alex was cutting weight 2 weeks in advance just so he could make 185. If that's the case, that's pretty ridiculous, and maybe he should go down to what's it called to 205. But I have a firm belief that maybe you can have Alex Pereira sit it out for a couple of months. I mean, getting knocked out in that fashion is a little bit crazy. I think that we probably shouldn't see Alex Pereira fight up until November, December, just because that knockout was pretty vicious. Um, what Israel Adesanya should do, be honest, I think the only fight that makes sense at this point is him versus um, what's it called? How you doing, Adam? Um, the only thing that I think that Israel Adesanya should do at this point is fight Hamza Shemaev. That's the only fight that makes sense. The only fight that makes sense. Israel Adesanya should fight Hamza Shemaev because that's the biggest fight that he could get out there. Drake Duplessis, I think it was great that he ended up fighting. Who was it? Darren Till. I think it was. I don't know. He fought. I don't quote me on that. I think Jack Manson, if I'm not mistaken. He fought plenty of good fight. Oh, Derek Brunson. I'm sorry. He fought Derek Brunson recently, and I really do believe that that's the fight to make. It's him versus Hamza Shaman. That's the biggest fight that he can make. I like the fact that Israel is a champion right now because it will. He doesn't want to be sitting on the bench, and, for long periods of time. Right? Israel likes to fight 3 times a year at bare minimum, and maybe we might be able to get him to fight on International Fight Week. Especially with the news that Dana White ended up announcing that he wants to make that July 22nd card in London as a pay-per-view instead of a fight night. If that's the case, you know what's going to end up happening. You're going to have Leon Edwards defending his belt again in London, all right, against Colby Covington, all right, because he ended up fighting Kamaru Usman not that long ago, and he's in London, and now he's gonna probably defend his belt one more time in London against Colby Covington, all right. Um, so that's what should end up happening. I think Alex Pereira should just try to recover. I think Alex Pereira should try to regroup himself, maybe even fight somebody else to try to build a contender to just try to emphasize his trilogy in mixed martial arts. All right, I know Alex is winning 3-1 in the series. All right, but Israel had a devastating knockout, and I think that's gonna be a picture that's gonna be hard for many people to think, hey, maybe Israel is the better fighter as opposed to Alex Pereira. All right. Moving on. All right. Moving on to um the co-main event. Jorge Masvidal versus Gilbert Burns. Now the card itself was really built around Jorge Masvidal, and man, he was a great promoter promoting this co-main event. All right. Big problem that I had. All right. One, Masvidal. I think that as much as a fan that I am, and 2019 was a magical year if you were a Jorge Masvidal fan. What I firmly do believe is that Jorge Masvidal, did hang him up at the proper time because I just think that he is cooked. All right. I gave round one to Jorge Masvidal. I think he was doing more, but I do believe. Well, no, I don't think what's it called Masvidal is fully retired from the sport because he is being the promoter for Icon FC, for Game Red Boxing and stuff like that. Um, I know Adam put that down in the chat, but I do believe that Masvidal is retiring from what's it called? I guess you could say for the time being, just because I mean he said it in the UFC Countdown show. He has plenty of money out there. He doesn't need to fight. He's doing it for the love of it, and I think that after his performance yesterday, I just wasn't really pleased with it, especially round three. Round three, he was allowing Gilbert to hit him. I know he was trying to bait Gilbert to hit him, but I just think that was just a terrible game plan. I think the wrestling, I think he's tired of it. I mean, he's dealt so much with Kobe Covington, with Kamaru Usman, all right, and then he dealt with it a lot yesterday in round two. I think that maybe Masvidal's burnt out. I think he has other, interests outside of MMA at this very point, and he was being very successful in mixed martial arts. I think it was perfect for him to hang him up and walk away from the sport. So he hangs that up. Gilbert Burns, on the other hand, smart call out. Unlike Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Burns demands Dana White so he could be the backup to Leon versus Colby. That way he kind of can ensure himself to being uh, what's it called, the next title challenger once that fight is officially over. I love that matchup. I love that for Gilbert Burns just because you are now pushing yourself into the mix right there. You're not just trying to just sit back and wait and trying to see if you can get yourself a title shot. All right, perfect move by Gilbert Burns. All right, smart game plan that he ended up having yesterday. He took whatever Masvidal was able to give him. All right. If Masvidal wasn't really defending well when it came to the takedowns, he took him down at the end of round one, and then he implemented that in round two. All right, Masvidal was trying to beat him into getting in close, and Burns ended up taking it, but he just ended up laying the wood on Masvidal. All right, laying the right hand and hurting Masvidal in round three. All right, I love what was happening for Gilbert Burns. I think you know this man could possibly become champion. Is it likely? I don't know, but I would favor him more. I'm telling you right now, I would favor him more in a fight between Colby Covington as opposed to Leon Edwards. I think Leon Edwards has great striking, and I think that if he would have implemented that same game plan that he had yesterday against Jorge Masvidal, Leon Edwards would have sparked them up in Miami. All right. Um, the people's main event, the fight that I was looking forward to, was Adrian Yanez versus Rob Font. Now, I was excited for this one because I was following Adrian Yanez since the Contender Series. I've seen his fights with Randy Costa, Davey Grant, um, what's it called? I think it was Gabriel Benitez, but Adrian Yanez, phenomenal fighter. Rob Font taking a year off after taking a beating from Cheeto Vera the year before, and it was smart by Rob Font. He is coached by Tyson Chartier, who is the head of the the New England Cartel, who also has Calvin Cater in his corner. I firmly love the fact what they ended up doing, taking the year off, and they ended up regrouping Rob Font. And Rob Font, what's it called? Yes, he ate a lot of punches in round one, but so did Adrian Yanez, and which led to Adrian Yanez getting knocked out. Phenomenal boxing matchup that we ended up having in that one and only round. It was pretty much a bona fide street fight with the way that both of them were hitting each other. Giannis, what's it called? The one big component on him that people have been seeing is that he's a great boxer. He's a great fighter. The only problem is that he is very hittable, and we were able to see that today. All right. Um, Giannis had mentioned in media day that he wanted to fight Sugar Sean O'Malley. If he was to fight Sugar Sean O'Malley will be able to expose a lot of those openings. I mean, he did that with Piotr Jan, who's a high level fighter than Adrian Giannis, in my opinion. And it would have been a lot worse if Giannis would have been able to get into the ring with Sean O'Malley like how he wanted. All right, maybe Giannis was thinking too far ahead and maybe drinking the Kool Aid on all the hype that people were giving him. But I believe that Rothman became very, rejuvenated after having that 1 year layoff after taking a huge beating, and I think maybe that's what he needed. Um, what's next for him? I don't know, man. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Piotr Jan. I think the Cheeto Vera fight is a little bit too soon to happen again, but who knows? And then we had Kevin Holland um, versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. A good technical fight. Love what I saw. Holland is very fast. He's very shifty. Santiago is very durable. He is very, strong as a 170 pounder. But I just think that the size, the reach, that all became more of a factor because Santiago in round three ended up holding Kevin's leg. All right, and Kevin with just one leg standing, backhands punches Santiago, and then leads up to knocking him out. I think that Santiago Ponzinibbio is a great litmus test for Kevin Holland, and I think Kevin Holland, in this weight class, if he treats welterweight as serious as he wants it to be, I think Kevin Holland could be a top five fighter. I think the fact that people forget that he was a 185 pounder, all right, and him dropping down to 170, you see the speed, the advantage, the height, the reach, all those components coming with Kevin Holland. I do believe Kevin Holland can be a true player at 170 pounds. I just think that he's going to have to get better with the wrestling. All right. You run into your Sean Brady's, you run into your Bilal Muhammad's, all right. You run into those people, you're going to have to get better with the wrestling. All right. We saw those, those flaws at 185 pounds. All right. And that those things will get exposed if he runs into those fighters. Um, Kevin Holland gets the victory, calls out Jorge Masvidal prior to Masvidal's fight with Burns. Um, I would have loved to see that fight happen. Maybe we do get that fight happen sometime down the line. But I think Kevin Holland, for him, next is, I don't know. I mean, what's it called? Muslim Salikov. That's a good fight right there. Or the Leech. That's another good fight over there too. So those are good. Those are good two opponents right over there. And then lastly, opener of the pay per view card, Raul Rosas Jr. versus Christian Rodriguez. Now, like I said, I had Raul Rosas Jr. in a parlay with Alex Pereira. I had Raul Rosas Jr. winning inside the distance. But man, did that boy ended up blowing the gas tank in round one because he fought like as if this was just only a 1 round fight. And I thought that he was going to get Christian Rodriguez out of there. But I also said that if Christian Rodriguez does survive this guy is game and he is going to walk out of Miami as the winner. All right. And Raul Rosas Jr. burned himself out after round one. Round two and three, he had nothing left to defend. He was all tired, beaten. All right. And one thing I did notice, and I really didn't get to pay attention to this in previous fights, is that Raul Rosas Jr.'s striking isn't that great whatsoever. All right. At one point in the third round, he had a total of 5 strikes landed with 16 strikes thrown. That is not good whatsoever. I understand you're 18 years old, But at some point, you will need to pick that up. You will need to work on your striking. It can't be just your grappling, your wrestling, your jiu-jitsu, all right? Because that will get you as far as possible, but you will reach a certain ceiling, all right? The last thing you want to be is something of that nature where you know that fighters know that you have one big flaw, and if they can avoid being taken down and just strike with you, it is game over, all right? That's how I always felt about Damian Maya, and I feel like that's what Raul Rosas Jr. is going to lead up to if he does not work on a striking. All right. I do believe that Rosas Jr. will work on it. He's 18 years old. I mean, the sky's the limit for the kid. But I do think that what's it called? This was a good litmus test, and this is a good ego check for Rosas Jr. If he can get past this, he'll be fine. If not, he'll fall under the same category as Chase Hooper. All right. And that's just that. It's just facts at that point. Um, so what's gonna happen next? I think if I'm Raul Rosas camp, I'm making sure that I'm getting into the gym. Sparring as much as possible. I'm trying to work on cardio management. I'm trying to work on how I'm able to expend my energy inside the octagon. And I don't know. I mean, just work on stuff like that. Him blowing his whole gas tank in round one was very, very immature of him. And he probably just looked past Christian Rodriguez, like, you know what? I've done this with everybody else. I could do this with him as well too. And that clearly was not you know, that clearly wasn't the situation. But good by Christian Rodriguez. He's being trained by the Pettis brothers. Those boys. In Bellator and PFL, they know exactly what they're doing. But yeah, guys, UFC 287, good card overall. I mean, I liked obviously the feature prelim, Chris Curtis versus Kelvin Gastelum. That was a good fight. Um, the the curtain jerker, which was Sam Hughes versus the Brazilian girl. I don't quote me on it. I forgot how to pronounce her name. That's why I'm just calling her that. Um, that was a good fight. The only thing I will say is that Sam Hughes, I think you're gonna get yourself into a lot of trouble for what you said, saying that your boyfriend ended up betting $1,000 on you when you were a plus 400 underdog. And if you didn't learn from what James Krause ended up happening towards him, hopefully the same ramifications don't happen towards you. But I mean, hopefully it's nothing. But I just fear that what's it called? Somebody like her who isn't so high on the UFC radar, they could possibly just cut her, for something like that. All right. But yeah, guys, love the card. UFC 288, kind of a tough sell in my opinion, but I mean, it has a title on the line, and you got Oliver versus Beneil Dariush. Next two pay-per-view cards might be a little bit, tough to swallow, but I mean, we got a good one, and we actually had a decent amount the past couple pay-per-views, so can't really complain. But yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in to Flav Oriana's Anime Show. I'm Flav Oriana, and I will see you guys next time. Peace, guys, and have a good one. See ya.